The story of Moses. A long time ago, the Israelites were slaves in Egypt. Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, was afraid that the Israelites were becoming too many, so he ordered all baby boys to be thrown into the river. But when Moses was born, his mother hid him for 3 months. When she could hide him no longer, she placed him in a basket and set him afloat in the Nile River. Pharaoh's daughter found baby Moses and decided to raise him as her own son. When Moses grew up, he left Egypt and became a shepherd. One day, while caring for his sheep, Moses saw a bush that was on fire, but the fire did not burn the bush up. God spoke to Moses from the bush and told him that he had chosen Moses to free the Israelites from slavery in Egypt. Moses was afraid and felt he wasn't good enough, but God promised to be with him. Moses went to Pharaoh and asked him to let the Israelites go, but Pharaoh refused. God then showed his power through Moses, but Pharaoh still wouldn't listen. So God sent plagues upon Egypt to convince Pharaoh to let his people go. 10 plagues. Moses touched the river, and all the water turned to blood. The fish died, and people couldn't drink the water. Frogs were everywhere, in people's homes, on their beds, and in their food. Dust turned into tiny itchy bugs called lice. They were all over people and animals. Swarms of flies filled the land and houses of Egypt. All the Egyptian cows, horses, and sheep died. Painful sores covered the Egyptians and their animals. A big storm with hail, fire, and thunder destroyed crops and plants. Bugs called locusts came and ate every green plant in Egypt. Darkness covered Egypt for 3 days, and no one could see anything. The worst plague of all, every Egyptian family's firstborn son died. But the Israelite families were safe because they followed God's instructions and put lamb's blood on their doorposts. After the last plague, Pharaoh was so sad that he finally let the Israelites go. Moses led them out of Egypt, and they were free at last. But Pharaoh changed his mind and sent his army to bring the Israelites back. The Israelites were trapped between Pharaoh's army and the Red Sea and were very scared. God told Moses to raise his staff over the water, and when he did, the sea parted. The Israelites walked across on dry ground. When Pharaoh's army tried to follow, the waters crashed back down, and they were swept away. The story of Moses teaches us that God has a plan for each of us, just like he had a plan for Moses. Even when things seem impossible, God is with us and will guide us through. Just as he saved the Israelites, he will help us in our times of need. All we need to do is trust him and believe that he can do great things in our lives.